$1,000 into these two stocks could surpass your full-time job. I'm not a financial advisor, but this company, ASTS, it's a space company, looks like it's about to take off. It does have 15 million of revenue, up from 1 million last year. There's another company that is an investor invested in by NVIDIA. It's Nebius. You've heard of it before, probably. Ticker symbol NBIS. And they have revenue that's up 300+% this year. It's 150 million of revenue. So let's jump into these two companies and why it's a smart idea to invest in them, in my opinion.
This is Sam Putnam.
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 All right, so here's ASTS. They're basically like a Starlink competitor, and this is their revenue. So 15 million up from 1 million is significant. They had expenses of 70 million for the quarter, which is a lot. And they did have an earnings miss. But this is the big deal here. 1 billion in contracted revenue. And they have a lot of money. If you look over at their cash need, they don't need cash right now. So they have over 2 billion, 150 months of cash. So over 10 years, that's not realistic. I'm sure that number is going to get gobbled up very quickly. But if you look at the chart, it does look like there's a bounce opportunity right now for this company. And it's not like you can buy SpaceX. I mean, if you look at DXYZ, which is the holding company that holds private shares of SpaceX, this is not something that looks like it's going to bounce. Meanwhile, when you look at ASTS, you have this left side peak going over to about 59. And sure, we're down significantly from this euphoria, but we have a higher low here. So if you look at some rare earth companies, sure, maybe MP is interesting with a higher low here, but USAR, I mean, this is just continuing to bleed out, and these quantum companies as well look pretty ugly. Crypto, everyone is excited about a bounce on MicroStrategy that brings it back to a price it had a week ago. I don't think you can get excited about MicroStrategy when Bitcoin looks like this. Maybe if it can turn the corner, you can go for a buy the dip opportunity. But if you're going to buy the dip, why not buy the dip on a company that is not related to crypto? In my opinion, this is starting to get interesting. I don't like to look at the intradaily too much, but you do have a higher, a high a couple days ago that you can risk off of and take an opportunity here to get in while the market is going sideways. Could we pull back a little bit? We probably will. We probably could. The safest thing to do right now is probably sit on your hands and do nothing. But I do know that there are going to be stocks that go up in the next couple of days. And if we look at the last couple of days, which we can do over here, here's some examples. I mean, Ondas Holdings, this drone company, it's a move. So it had a bounce off of this 50-day moving average. And this could be a good level going back all the way to mid-late September. Intel, I don't want anything to do with explaining why it made that move, but it did go up significantly. This was based on the NVIDIA deal. Earnings reaction was nothing special. A lot of companies didn't have special earnings reactions for Q3. Airlines are up a lot, but that's not something that is buyable. the reason on this is interesting is because it was an up day followed by some down days. So it's a small enough company, about 3 billion market cap, where it's not correlated to the market. So you can buy these companies. It's safe enough to buy them because there's enough liquidity. I'm talking about 90 million shares times almost a $10 stock. It's like $1 billion of liquidity. So 1/100th of that would be $10 million that you can put into this without moving the stock. And it had a little up move on a day where, sure, the SPY didn't, go down much, but if the SPY goes down at all, I mean, you don't really want to be buying stocks. Look at the big market cap companies, AMD, that went down. So there's just no point, in my opinion, in buying, say, an NVIDIA, where everyone's excited that it's starting to get a little bit more interesting, and AKA not just dropping day after day after day. But if the SPY, has been going up like crazy and NVIDIA is just drifting sideways and the SPY is probably going to go down the next couple of days, you don't want to be in NVIDIA. So that's the idea for ONDS. That's the idea for a stock like ASTS. And again, you do have this left side peak, which maybe it's not something you want to risk off. Maybe you're more of like a breakout buyer, like an AXDI. But there's not a ton of breakouts out there, so you can look for them. There are some opportunities, but in general, they're in pharmaceuticals, coming down a little bit, healthcare, and maybe you get these for a bounce, but the last couple of days, these haven't been great, which means as a result, some of these biotech flags have not looked super strong. And I'm not sure I personally think it's a good idea, so I wouldn't say it to you necessarily, to jump into some of these biotech stocks after stocks like Unicure and Intella Therapeutics have gotten crushed and had no bounce at all. I mean, sure, Meta had a bounce, but since then hasn't really gone anywhere. So everyone was jumping up and down about United Healthcare having a bounce after Warren Buffett bought it. Sure, it bounced, but since Q3 earnings, it's gone nowhere. There's a lot of companies that didn't have great Q3 earnings and haven't done anything special after that. So Spotify and Netflix are the consumer leaders, and those ones continue to sell off. Sure, this EAT is going up. Some of these companies in retail, Macy's went up, but do you really want to be investing in retail right now? I mean, you can. There's some opportunities. Ross Clothes is maybe interesting. Kohl's is the best retail name. But if you're not interested in that, maybe you're looking for a stock that's had more speculative euphoria. So this isn't a fundamental play. I am definitely not saying it is, but there's definitely a dip buy opportunity. So that's ASDS. And this other company that's pretty interesting, that you call it a fundamental play, you don't have to call it a fundamental play. It's Nebius AI. And the reason it is fundamental, you could say, is sure, they have 150 million of revenue, whereas ASDS, I haven't even said ASDS's full name because I can't even remember it. It's I think it might literally be AST. Yeah, AST Space Mobile. So it's not the most modern sounding name, but you know what? Nebius has 150 million, whereas AST Space Mobile has like 15 million of revenue. So this is, of course, driven by the AI boom, $3 billion 5-year deal to supply AI infrastructure to Meta. And they also have a previously announced multi-billion-dollar deal with Microsoft. There is another company that has a deal with Microsoft. I believe it's, is it Iron or Cipher that has the 5-year deal with Microsoft. This is notable because the strength of all of these different sort of layers of the data center cake, it's iron. Cipher has one with AWS. So the strength of all of these really matters, and iron hasn't shown that strength. That's the Microsoft deal. Cipher did have a move, but pulling back recently. These are not the play right now, in my opinion. And if you're sort of, not someone who wants to look at this day to day, you just want to look like once a month or something, that's fine. But this is probably not the channel for you, right? If you want something that's once a month, buy Ford, moves 2% a day. Buy GM, that just had a solid earnings reaction. So sure, you might lose whatever this is, a couple percent, as much as 5% over the next month, maybe 10. Whereas on ASTS, if you bought it up here, sure, you would be down over the month 30%. So I'm qualifying those to direct you in the right direction. But if you're willing to open your phone and sell, within the next couple of days, week at worst, then you do want to be looking at stocks that move. This moves 10% a day. And I'll talk about the fundamentals, don't worry. But I'm just saying, they just announced, or they had announced, a multi-billion-dollar deal with Microsoft. And Iron had that deal with Microsoft and it sold off. So there's a reason I'm not gung-ho about the fundamentals. This company, it does have sold out capacity. So that's good. I mean, in my opinion, that's good for a company that has revenue and is trying to become profitable. Maybe they should be just throwing debt into buying more data centers, but or GPUs. I think they're more of just buying GPUs. I personally don't think that's the smartest thing. Maybe they're going to raise some money to do that, but if you're trying to match AI demand, you don't want to do that. So this is the contracted power goal, 2.5 gigawatts by the end of 2026. And there was some talk about how that goal of, 90 gigawatts, in order to achieve that 90 gigawatts that all the hyperscalers need, this is like usage per year. So I don't know the gigawatt hours or whatever, but they have to make $800 billion a year just to pay the interest on those 90 gigawatts of power. So in my opinion, that's a little crazy, right? So instead of betting on AI's valuation, OpenAI's valuation, or Anthropic's when they list publicly, which it sounds like they're trying to do in 2026, and indirectly betting on them through these Bitcoin miner turned data center plays like Iron and Cipher, why not just look for little opportunities that are, unrelated, like ASTS, which is a space name, or the GPU play, which is like a mini NVIDIA. I mean, NVIDIA literally invested in this company. So they're serving demand that they already have. You're not betting on these crazy numbers. I mean, Elon said 250 gigawatts in the next 10 years, which is absolutely possible, but not something I necessarily want to bet on. So that's the idea. Again, this is an NVIDIA connected company. So that's a little bit of a green light. I'm not sure you want to buy all NVIDIA connected companies. They have like hundreds in their preferred partner platform list. But this is literally one they invested in. So that's a big deal. This is not a small investment. They participated in a private placement round, and I think the number was pretty big too. I think they invested like $1 billion. So that's big. There's a couple other NVIDIA investments within the past 5 years. But I don't think any of them are setting up interestingly. So if we look across sort of the ecosystem of AI companies, SoundHound is one that people have been talking about, and this looks to be tailing off. BBAI isn't super interesting right now. It looked like it might have sort of a shelf, but that's tailing off. It's just not, I mean, this was 100%, but it's not the cleanest chart. ONDS really looks the best. So keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on ASDS, and keep an eye on Nebius. In my opinion, those are the ones to look at. And yeah, so they got 700 million. NVIDIA was part of that. So NVIDIA actually only invested 25 million. So that's the grain of salt. And the other grain of salt is CoreWeave. Maybe CoreWeave's an interesting bounce here. But it's certainly, although it's behaved, very smoothly, it's not gone up, when a lot of other companies went up in late September, mid-late September. So there's a lot of little startups as well. APLD, Recursion are some big ones. But neither of those really look investable. So it's great to be fundamentally minded, but do you want to buy APLD after it just went up 5 days? Do you want to buy Recursion Pharmaceuticals after it's basically down since September? Which, is not the case for the market, right? The market is up. So those are some ideas, NBIS and ASTS. And if you like those ideas, hit that like button. If you want a free course on how to buy stocks before they go up, hit that subscribe. I'll post that in the post section. And if you want to tune in to live stream at 8 a.m., check that out. And that'll continue in the Discord at stockscommunity.com. I'll see you in the next one.
This is Sam Putnam.
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 This is Sam Putnam.